Welcome back to Black Girl Diagnosed. Today we're joined by Tameka Spruce, a disability advocate and filmmaker dedicated to amplifying disabled voices through storytelling and advocacy. Tameka uses her work to challenge stereotypes, promote inclusion, and highlight the lives of experiences of disabled community. Through film and community engagement, she is helping create a more accessible world, and we're excited to have her join us, share her journey, and the impact of her work. Thank you for joining me today, Tamika, and welcome to Black Girl Diagnosed.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's just get right into things. Can you tell my audience about your journey into disability advocacy and what inspired you to use filmmaking as one of your tools for change?
Yes. So, my journey is I have a spinal cord injury as a result of a car accident when I was a baby. So, going through, um, growing up with a disability, and then also, looking at media, I grew up around like the 90s. That's why I vividly remember it's the 90s. So, looking at media, there really wasn't any representation or stories of disabled people, disabled girls, black disabled people. There was nothing really there. And if it was, it definitely was not played by actual disabled actors. And so I really had nothing to look up to. So once I always wanted to be like in the arts and the theater, and and so it's like, okay, film is a great tool to really tell our stories. And so that's what, after I graduated in 2010 with a bachelor's degree in journalism, this is my chance to really be able to do that. So, and I've been blessed enough to, you know, have different roles in the film industry, and have that experience, and also now produce my own material. And so, and as far as with this disability advocacy, just which I think the viewers would definitely be identified with this, but really, as a person with disability, if you want things done, you have to speak up. You have to advocate for yourself. So I really had to do that. So the start of really my advocacy started at 12 years old, when I advocated for myself to be um, mainstreamed full time. So I was in the classroom with my peers instead of what I previously had, which was be in special education the first half, and then the mainstream afterwards.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's really cool. I always love to hear about people, advocating for themselves. Me personally, I wasn't really able to advocate for myself. When I was like younger, like in high school, I got to high school and they had just like, they put me into like an alternative school, but I didn't belong in an alternative school. So then we just decided that I was going to be homeschooled, but I didn't know how to speak up for myself. So just hearing that other disabled people were able to advocate for themselves, I always love hearing that. So you created Autistic Out Loud. What inspired you to create it, and what message do you hope audience would take away?
Yeah. So what inspired me to produce this film is it's really, I back like a couple years ago, I did a series, webinar series, about being black and disabled, because like with my advocacy, I tend to focus more on black and brown communities, women and girls. That's my focus. And so um, I was doing this series, and so I gave people different perspectives, um, with what it's like to be black and disabled. And so one of the people were my friend Anita Cameron, who's a really great advocate and autistic as well. She really gave a really great insight into what it's like. Also, back in 2020, I advocated for a black young autistic man to have the charges dropped in two cities. And so experiencing that and advocating for him really gave me an understanding of what it's like, how the criminal justice, criminal legal system works, and how easy it is for disabled people, but particularly autistic black people to get caught up into the system. And so, having those experiences and also having friends who are neurodivergent and autistic. So I was like, okay, I want this to be the next story I tell because I think it's very important for, again, disabled stories to be told. And so I um, have asked my friend Juliet Romeo, and then also we brought on a director who is also neurodivergent, Kashmir Jasmine, and so we just said, let's do this. Let's do this film to really provide um, and collaborate with other, disabled and autistic people to tell these stories of what it's like living that duality between being black and autistic.
Yes, and as a filmmaker, do you think authentic storytelling is important when it comes to changing the way people understand autism and disability?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to have that authentic storytelling. So that's why it's so imperative that with my experience being a grassroots advocate, activist, that you have to have the community involved. And so, that's why it's so important to have, like, we're going to be following four people. So, I want to make sure and they have a say in how the story is told, and, I have, and also work with other people to have that authentic storytelling is very important as
Y-
well.
Yes, and also I'm interested to know like what have you like personally learned from the autistic community throughout the making of Autistic Out Loud, and how has that experience influenced your advocacy?
Yeah. Um, so I've learned that, which I already knew, but just even deeper understanding of autism, and it really is, and what I hope to get out of the people to get out of the film is not believing, the misinformation, because there's a lot of, misinformation out there of what is autism, what causes autism, and, and it's just people need to understand fully what it is and what the experiences are like. And so, like, one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of adults with who are late diagnosed with autism, they found out they're autistic through their children. And so, um, which, makes sense because there's a genetic component to, you know, autism. I can't say for all cases, but I know for many of it is. So, um, understanding that, and it just, it's really just, again, understand the spectrum of it as well, because what I've seen and what one of the stories is that we're telling is with Yolanda. And so Yolanda was diagnosed at 58. And so, And so, she talks about how sometimes people don't even believe that she has autism because she doesn't exhibit the stereotypical, white boy type of, you know,
Yeah, I know. I know
features.
all about that.
Yeah,
When I first got on social media and started sharing my story, that was like some of the pushback that I got almost immediately. People were like, well, you don't look autistic. And, a lot of white people were commenting on it. And I'm like, first of all, you should not be so invested in what goes on in Black people who are autistic. I mean, it's not like a white boys only club. So I definitely understand that. I still, even though now I'm actively advocating and sharing my story and doing my best to just do my part. People are still like, well, you don't seem autistic, but I'm like, well, you guys are just kind of seeing a very small part of my life and you're seeing my advocacy. You don't see my daily struggles. You don't see the things that I need help with on a daily basis. I like my adaptive functioning skills, like things that should be easy for me to do are not, and I need a lot of help from my dad, and I'm not an autistic adult who can live independently safely. So you can't tell that if you just look at my page. And I feel like that is also like a stigma that people in their mind, they feel like they know what autism is supposed to look like, and everybody's story is different. But looking ahead, what changes would you like to see in the representation of autistic and disabled people in film, in media, and society as a whole?
yeah. So I want to see more stories, particularly more stories that are Main Street in the sense of like for example, there's a great film, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's escaping me right now. But it's a great film about a black father who has a child who has Down syndrome. And so the mother uh, passed away, and so he's the sole caregiver. And so it's really authentic, storytelling of the young man that plays, the son. He's really, has Down syndrome. It's a beautiful film.
I'm gonna have to look at that. I actually have a cousin who has Down syndrome. He's like 30 now, and like, his life expectancy wasn't very long, but for the situation, he is thriving. He goes to his day programs, and the funny thing is like he never forgets a face, and he's like the sweetest person. So I need to look that up. I want to see that.
Yeah, yeah, I can't believe it. Forgot I posted about it on my Facebook and everything. But yeah, so seeing more stories like on Netflix and different places, um, and then also telling, putting you know funding in disabled people's hands so that we can tell the story too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
another layer that because it is so hard. Raising money is so hard. Getting funding to produce quality work and so the people who really get the funding are people who's like the most connected. And it's a whole thing that goes into it. So uh, we need money as disabled filmmakers to
Yes.
tell our stories as well.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, you would think in 2026 there would be like more opportunities. Like sometimes when it comes to like mainstream media and the opportunities that they give to people, but they don't include disabled people, that is something that really disappoints me. But do you have, wrapping things up, do you have any recent projects you'd like to share with us?
Um, again, Autistic Out Loud, we looking to start filming, so we haven't, got into production yet, but definitely I want people to check it out. We have a trailer or teaser up, so people can check that out. I'm also doing producing a well, it turned it was a digital series, but it's kind of like a media platform now. But it's called Divas of the City TV. So that tells there's different well, it's for women and with disabilities, black women, and you kind of see behind the scenes of their life and how they run their businesses and such, what they do, and then I've used the platform to tell more stories of on social media of black and brown women with disabilities. So between those two projects, keeps me really busy.
That's awesome. What do you want people to take away from this interview?
Um, just the I would say the power of stories, and I definitely would encourage anyone to um it's easier to tell your story now. You have, like the phone, you have, there's different apps that you can use that's pretty, you know, easy to use. And so, don't be afraid to grab the camera or, grab your phone and, use your social media. I know, Ayana, you do a really great job, with
Thank you.
you know, yeah, use your social media page. Don't be afraid to use your voice and tell your story because there's people waiting, to hear it, and that's what I hope to do, with um, and we as a team with Autistic Out Loud is just to give people a perspective of what it's like and to really kind of move the needle around awareness and create more inclusion and joy, because that's important as well through the film. But yeah, just don't be afraid to use your voice and tell your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And like with me, like when I started like just sharing my story, I didn't think anything would come of it. I was just, I was just newly accepting my diagnosis and I just started sharing my story and then people just, I didn't really think anybody was listening. I didn't think anybody cared. But then I just started getting like invited on podcasts and I started getting like honored and like getting proclamations and just being asked to be a part of like some great things. And I just never expected any of that to happen. I was just sharing my story and looking for community.
Yes, 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 yeah. This you never know what it could get you, and that is a great way to have community. Community is definitely important. So
Yes, definitely. So can you tell everyone where they can find you?
yeah, so you can find me um, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Tameka Citchen Spruce, and then also follow Autistic Out Loud documentary. Autistic, not autism, 'cause there's autism out loud, but autistic.
Yeah, I think I saw that. It's a bunch of white ladies, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
Autistic Out Loud and on Instagram and YouTube. You can see on our YouTube there's a 5-part series, so from different advocates. So I definitely recommend people checking that out on our YouTube page. And then you got Divas in the City TV, and it's all over. Just type it up and you'll find it.
Thank you so much, Tamika, for sharing your powerful story and for joining me today and sharing your wisdom with me and with my audience. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Black Girl Diagnosed. I really appreciate you being here, hanging in there on the weeks that I don't put episodes out, but just know that I will always be back. So until next time, take care and keep advocating with love.